Yes, it is.
What's your record so far? How many did they win? Okay, so this is not.
Well, some of it maybe, but there's other stuff.
I got it. Good. You're good. Now I got it.
Paul. Can I have the big one, so, because the print's better for when I read it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Here, I'm gonna give you that. Oh, give you this one. And who's that? Other one? Frank?
A week from now, I'll be on vacation. Yay! What a cute shirt.
It's nice and comfy.
I like the bow.
You should have this jacket something. We have nice.
You know, I love it when it gets hot in here, I know that the air conditioning gets overwhelmed.
Yeah, well, this jacket's not the best. Good evening. This is the Ridgewood Village Council regular public meeting. The date is July 9th, 2025. The time is 7:32 p.m. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a posting on the bulletin board in Village Hall, by mail to the Ridgewood News, the Record, and by submission to all persons entitled to same as provided by law of a schedule, including the date and time of this meeting. Roll call.
Councilmember Mortimer,
Here.
Councilmember Perrin,
Here.
Councilmember Whites,
Here.
Councilmember Winograd,
Here.
Mayor Vagianos.
Here, will you all please join us in a salute to our flag? I move the bills, claims, and vouchers and statement of funds on hand as of June 30th, 2025 be accepted as submitted.
I second that.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. I move that the Village Council minutes of May 28th, June 9th, and June 11th, 2025, having been reviewed by the Village Council and now available in the Village Clerk's office, be approved as submitted.
Second.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes. We have lots of good news and good stuff tonight, and we're going to begin with a proclamation proclaiming July Parks and Recreation Month. Frank, take it away.
Whereas parks, recreation, and leisure services are an integral part of communities throughout the country, including the village of Ridgewood, And whereas Parks and Recreation promote health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, school grounds, open spaces, and whereas Parks and Recreation promote time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorder, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation increase a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change. And whereas Ridgewood Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities and fitness by providing space for popular sports, hiking trails, bike paths, the Graydon Pool, and other recreational amenities for both passive and active programming designed to promote a healthy and active lifestyle. And whereas Ridgewood Parks and Recreation is the leading provider of healthy meals, nutritional services, and education throughout its relationship with Health Barn USA. And whereas Ridgewood Parks and Recreation programming and educational activities such as after-school time STEM programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas the Ridgewood Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community through its relationship with Green Ridgewood in hosting the Earth Day Daffodil Festival. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature, embrace and explore the children's sensory butterfly garden, and recreate outdoors in the village's 13 municipal park properties. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the Village of Ridgewood recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, and whereas Ridgewood Parks and Recreation Department is currently embracing the National Parks and Recreation Association's 2025 theme of Build Together, Play Together by completing the new Habernacle Pavilion, renovating the ADA playground at Habernacle Park, retrofitting lights at Veterans Park, resurfacing the pickleball courts, and by starting the planning process for additional projects. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim July 2025 as Parks and Recreational Month. It was a workout reading all of that.
Well, it was a little more suspense with the delay. Thank you, Frank. And we have several other proclamations. The council will come to the well to deliver them because these are going to be a lot of fun. We need a mic. Charlie DeMarco, come on up. You stay right here, and Frank is going to read a proclamation because he is our representative to CSAC.
And first, I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance to work with you on CSAC because of all your great work. So this proclamation is whereas Charlie DeMarco was appointed to the Citizen Safety Advisory Committee in the year 2000 when it was first established, and after 25 continuous years of dedicated volunteer service has stepped down from his position. And whereas Charlie served as chair of the CSAC for approximately a decade, providing steady leadership and ensuring the committee continued to meet and function effectively even though the challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas Charlie brought to the committee not only his unwavering commitment to public service, but also the benefit of his distinguished professional expertise as a New Jersey licensed professional engineer and experienced traffic engineer. And whereas Charlie's leadership and engineering insight contributed directly to numerous safety improvements in the village, including installation of blinking yellow pedestrian crossing signs, the replacement of missing traffic control signs, the redesign of unsafe intersections, and improved drop-off and pick-off procedures at schools such as Travell, where my kids go, so thank you for that. And whereas Charlie collaborated directly with the village staff and engineers on major initiatives, including the successful Overbrook Road double yellow center line, which resulted in a measurable reduction in dangerous speeding, the creation of a safe walking routes to school plan in partnership with Volmar engineers, promoting walking trains of students and safer pedestrian access for school children, support for Ridgewood's first speed table on South Pleasant Ave near Somerville School, endorsement of traffic calming corner bump outs to improve pedestrian safety, and continued participation in professional education seminars, staying up to date on traffic safety innovations even after his professional retirement. And whereas Charlie's presence on the CSAC ensured thoughtful, data-driven decision-making, and his ability to bridge community concerns with engineering solutions made him a valuable resource to the village for a quarter of a century. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood, on behalf of the entire community, does hereby express heartfelt gratitude to Charles DeMarco for his 25 years of exemplary volunteer service to the Citizen Safety Advisory Committee and to the residents of Ridgewood, and wish him a well-deserved, fulfilling retirement. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you all. The work of the committee would never have happened without the support of the mayor and council over all these years. And I heard decades being mentioned. I can't believe it actually is decades. My official committee historian is not here at the moment, but she would tell you exactly what the dates were. So, but thank you, mayor and council, and preceding mayors and councils for your help and support. And just importantly, the staff, the clerk's staff, who makes everything happen, and the engineering department, police, fire department, Parks and Recreation. And I want to thank all the citizens who have, over the years, come to the committee with their suggestions and information on items needing attention. We try to address them all. They brought their time and talent to the committee, and we try to act on it to make Ridgewood a better place to live. Thank you for all your efforts and for letting me use my talents and time to help Ridgewood be our home, all of our homes. And I hope we continue that for many years to come. I want to also thank everyone who was very supportive recently to me and my wife Sue, who have struggled with a few medical conditions, but we're back anyway. So thank you all for the work you put in, and may Ridgewood continue to grow and be the home for all of us. Thank you.
Charlie, you've been an institution here since long before any of us were sitting on this council. And when I stop to think, you know, Frank mentions that his kids go to Travell. All our kids went to places that you had an impact on, and they all came home safely. And your involvement in that did not go unnoticed, so thank you so much. Let's give it up for Charlie. And now we are going to have Siobhan read a proclamation for Disability Month. And will everyone here for Disability Month please come up and join us?
So thank you for coming. I have a proclamation to read, but I do want to say that being the Access Liaison is unique because this is the only committee that filters into every other committee. And this full council, whether doing safety or planning, often asks about the access lens. So I'm a very lucky liaison to have these lovelies all around work on this committee. If you've never been to an access meeting, it is to be door opening, and because we deal with a lot of disabilities, it is 100% online, and we welcome anybody wanting to participate. So this is the first time we've done the Disability Pride Month proclamation, and Kara here, who's one of our newest members, recommended it, and I'm so grateful to be reading it. So, whereas Disability Pride Month is an annual observation in July that celebrates people with disabilities, commemorates the signing of the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA, and promotes disability, culture, and visibility. And whereas the Disability Pride Month recognizes the importance of the ADA, which was signed into law on July 26, 1990, and is currently celebrating its 35th anniversary this month. The ADA challenges the harmful idea that people with disabilities need to conform to the norms to live meaningful lives. And whereas Disability Pride Month is a time to recognize the history, achievements, experiences, and struggles of peoples with disabilities. It affirms that disability is a natural and valuable part of human diversity and not a deficit or condition to be fixed, and that people with disabilities have lives that are full, valuable, and worthy of respect. And whereas more than 1 in 4 adults in the United States of America, over 70 million people, have a disability, this month calls on everyone to promote inclusion and ensure people with disabilities are accepted exactly as they are without conditions. And whereas the ARC National Council of Self-Advocates, which is comprised of individuals with intellectual and development disabilities, IDD, and whose purpose is to ensure that people with IDD have a voice in ARC advocacy programs and services, including promoting their full inclusion in society, celebrate the 2025 Disability Pride Theme Month, quote, "We belong here and we're here to stay." This theme delivers a powerful message that people with disabilities are a vital part of every community, not someday, not conditionally, right now. Whereas disabilities' rights face growing threats in education, employment, healthcare, and public life, this year's theme is a clear cause to action. It pushes back against albinism and discrimination and bias against people with disabilities as well as their exclusion. Whereas many people with disabilities still face barriers to being fully included and valued, effects limited to education, jobs, healthcare, and respect. Whereas Disability Pride Month for those who are disabled is about being accepted on their own terms. It says disability is not something to hide or fix, and that everyone deserves inclusion, rights, and respect without having to earn them. And now, therefore, the Village Council of the Village of Ridgewood does hereby proclaim July 2025 as Disability Pride Month in the Village of Ridgewood, New Jersey, and urges all our residents to be inclusive of people with disabilities by allowing them not to be erased, ignored, or pushed aside.
I just want to thank you for doing this, and I'm so grateful to live here and so grateful to be on Access, and I'm going to keep fighting for all of the disabled folks in town. Thank you.
Here we go. Let me just say, I've been so honored to be the tiniest little cog in Access's big wheel. I've been working with Team Jamie, Jamie Davis over here, and I have learned so much. You know, I always say that, you know, if at my stage of life someone can teach me things, they're really special people. And so I want to thank you all for all the work that you do every day. It means so much to all of us. So thank you again. Let's give it up for these people. See, I told you it was going to be a fun night. And the fun continues. Luke, will you come up and bring your family, please? Oh, yeah. Everybody. Everybody. Psst, come here. I'm talking about you. Come on. Everybody. Everybody. Coach. Everybody. Come on. Come on. Listen, if a coach ain't family, I don't know what he is. Let me just, before I read this proclamation, let me just tell you, Luke is a 4-time All-American with one more national championship to come. He is a runner, just in case you couldn't tell by the way he's built. He is also a 4-time New Jersey State Meet of Champions champion. Quite simply and literally, he is the greatest distance runner in Bergen County history. Think about that. And Luke will continue to compete at the University of North Carolina in both cross country and track and field. Is this on a full ride, I think? Almost. So mom and dad are pretty happy about this. So now let's begin. Whereas, although Luke Pash did not begin his competitive running journey until his freshman year at Ridgewood High School, through his dedication, resilience, and passion, he quickly emerged as one of the most decorated and respected athletes in New Jersey's history. And whereas Luke has not only set records on the track, but also exemplified character, humility, and leadership off of the track by mentoring younger teammates, supporting others without hesitation, and consistently putting the team first. And whereas Luke is known for his selfless commitment to his teammates, once celebrating the opportunity to guide 3 first-time national competitors at indoor nationals with the words, "That's great, that sounds fun." And again, demonstrating his team-first mentality after a grueling 800-meter victory when told a relay win could seal a meet victory by replying without hesitation, "Well then, I'm in." And whereas Luke's legacy is not only written in record books, but in the memories and spirit of the Ridgewood track and field program, which is a true example of Luke exemplifying what it means to compete with heart, honor, and humility. And whereas Luke has earned the title of 4-time All-American, a 4-time New Jersey State Meet of Champions champion, and holds the Bergen County records in the 1 mile, 4 minutes, 3 seconds, and the 3,200 meter with his mile time standing as the 2nd fastest in New Jersey history. And whereas Luke ranks in the top 10 in Bergen County history in the 800 meter and has been named All-County in 9 separate seasons. How many years did you go to high school? And is widely acknowledged as the greatest distance runner in Bergen County history. And whereas Luke was named Track Athlete of the Year for the state of New Jersey by NJ.com and won the Gatorade New Jersey Track and Field Athlete of the Year, one of the most prestigious awards in all of high school sports, confirming that all who know him already believe that Luke is among the best in the nation. Whereas Luke will continue his academic and athletic career at the University of North Carolina, where he will compete in cross country and track and field, carrying the legacy of Ridgewood and Bergen County with him. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this village council does hereby express its heartfelt appreciation, respect, and admiration for Luke, whose excellence, integrity, and team-first spirit have left an indelible mark on Ridgewood High School, and whose future we follow with great pride and anticipation. Let's give it up for Luke. Here's the hard part. Now you got to say something.
Okay, I got this. Okay, well, I want to thank you guys and the Village of Ridgewood for everything. This is an honor that I would have never expected of getting when I came into the high school. It wouldn't have been possible without my coaches and my parents. Some of the coaches aren't here, but clearly he cares the most, so that's why he's here. He'll take all the credit. This is unbelievable. Just to cap it all off, I'm just super happy with everything and the way everything turned out, and that's about it.
Luke, we will all be following your career because you are the hometown hero. We're pretty proud of you, and maybe we'll see you, where those circles are? Someday. I don't want to jinx it, so we're not going to say it. But thank you so much. Let's get some pictures. Give it up for Luke one more time. It's like a wedding. Yep, absolutely. And we're not done yet. Deirdre Tobin, come on up. Absolutely. Deirdre was named Boys Tennis Coach of the Year. And we have a certificate in her honor, and we are so proud of this. I will tell you personally, one of the things that I'm so happy about is I have daughters who are athletes, and I always said to them that one day they will coach their sons, and that will change the world because women who are coaches of young men change all the attitudes and all the perspectives. So thank you so much. Here's your certificate, and please say a few words.
Thank you very much for the honor. This is new for me, being honored by the Village of Ridgewood, and it really means a lot. I've been in Ridgewood for 23 years, coaching that long, 3-season coach, and like you said, I think it's important that women are coaches of both genders, male and female, and I love what I do. I love teaching at Ridge Elementary School, I love coaching at Ridgewood High School, and I'm very honored because I have a great group of young athletes, and I hope that I can continue to influence and coach for the rest of my career. Thank you again for such a great honor.
Deirdre, again, thank you so much. You teach, you coach, your whole life is dedicated to helping the young people of this town. Thank you so much. Let's give it up for Deirdre. And now we will retire to the dais for more mundane matters and paying bills and things like that. And let's go to comments from the public. Anyone?
Is it on?
Green light?
Sheila Brogan, Ridgewood. Got it. I'm sorry Charlie left, but I didn't actually know this was going to be on the agenda. But just for the record, I went to a safety committee meeting 20 years ago, at the fire station as a young Board of Education member and interested in pedestrian safety. And I met this man who seemed to know everything about traffic safety, pedestrian safety, and it was Charlie DeMarco. So thank you for recognizing him. I've had the privilege of working with him on the safety committee, and he is a great leader and did a wonderful job for Ridgewood, and many of the improvements we can credit Charlie with. So thank you for honoring him tonight. And
Thank
for
you, Sheila.
Luke and Deirdre, these are really nice presentations tonight.
Anyone else? Pete, if you could speak a little closer to the mic.
You got to be obnoxiously
You
close.
got
yeah.
to be really close. Sorry, we're working on it. Much better.
Yeah.
Wait, I think did you turn it off? I think it might be off.
Pete
Yeah,
Masajewski,
there you
Ridgewood
go.
resident. Okay. First time in this room, and I came here tonight because I wanted to make a brief statement and basically say, you know, I've watched these meetings on YouTube from afar, most recently in the last few weeks, and you know, and over the winter, and I wasn't able to come here, just busy with life, and I wanted to say thank you to the council for all that you do as public servants, and most likely I disagree with you on a lot of things, but I sincerely appreciate all that you do for the community, and I watch you all here doing what you do, interacting with the public, and it appears to me that you are really trying to act in everyone's best interest, and I sincerely appreciate it. I've lived here since 2011, and I have young children, and so it means a lot to me that you're trying to expand field space for children in town, because I've been to all these different towns, and they have all these great sports facilities, and you come back home to Ridgewood and you say, there's so many great things about Ridgewood, there's not enough fields for the children. And, you know, I sincerely appreciate all that you're doing, especially trying to expand the field space. And I hope that, you know, sometimes it seems to get kind of heated here, but I hope that you realize that I'm one person that came out of my way tonight to say thank you. I'm sure there's thousands of other people that just are busy and don't make it here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. It means more to us than you know.
Pete, I think you just made my night. Thank you for that.
Anybody else? Seeing no one, we'll go to our public access. Saurabh, you're up. You're on mute at the moment. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for your service and thank you for the opportunity to speak remotely. My name is Saurabh Dani, Ridgewood resident, and I watched last council meeting, and I heard the planners' presentation and the discussions after that. I did not hear the word pilot used in any of those discussions, so I did send an email to Ms. Mailander to inquire if pilot was under consideration for Kensington, and she responded back that at this time there's no agreement with them or discussion about pilot agreement. I just wanted to bring it up because they have been trying to build a property in Ridgewood for a while, and they did express the desire for pilot in the past, but this time it's my understanding that they are coming in and saying that they want to build it here, and they inserted themselves in a lawsuit. So I hope the council is not negotiating any pilot deals with them, and if you are, then you are transparent with the public from the starting, not after the zoning is done by the planning board and not after the fact. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh. Anybody else? Seeing no one, I'm going to close public comment, and we will. I always forget this part. Does anybody want to respond to any of the comments made this evening?
I just want to say that thank you for coming out. It is very nice. And I also just want to say what a lovely evening, and thank you to the full council and the clerk's office who made it all happen. So sometimes you feel lucky to sit up here And it's always nice to be thanked, and tonight was extra special, so thank you, Heather, for making it happen.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put an exclamation point on that. I want everybody to give Heather Mailander a big round of applause. She's been here for almost 4 decades. She started when she was 9. And every one of those proclamations, she writes herself. So let's give it up for Heather. Thank you. As you can see, she puts a lot of time and effort into that, and her heart and soul is in it also. So, anybody else?
Yeah, I'll just respond to Mr. Donnie's question. In the discussions we've been having about affordable housing, we have not had any discussions so far regarding a pilot.
Anybody else? No? I see Denise raised her hand a little late, but we will include her in public comment. So even though we closed it, Denise, you're up.
Hi. Denise Lima, Ridgewood resident. Hoping you can hear me.
We can.
Hallelujah. And my hand was raised. It's raised the whole time, so I'm not sure what the issue is.
It was a technical glitch, which is why we have several of those, so we're good.
Great. Well, thank you for letting me speak today. I want to say thank you for a few things. First is the Glen Ave, East Glen Ave speed limit sign that was put up. I went to a few safety council meetings. Frank, I know that you've been advocating for it. You live locally as well. The trees were trimmed so people can see the speed limit coming down. So I think this is a fabulous start to getting people to slow down. So I just want to say thank you for finally getting that in. I think the next step we talked about was maybe getting the pedestrian flashers at the corner of Northern and East Glen, because there's been some more accidents. But thanks to everybody that has been pushing for that. Ridgewood 4th of July, I've been coming here since I was a Fairlawn resident. When Fairlawn participated, it's just fabulous to see the parade, the fireworks. Kudos out to the Ridgewood gardeners, the volunteers, the Parks and Recs. Next morning, all the fencing was up and the ashes, and it's just amazing what people put together and do. So thanks for all the coordination for that. It was it's a great time to be in Ridgewood. I think because of the additional security and safety measures, which was great. A lot of the lots were blocked off this year. I spoke to several police, asking them where the handicap parking is. They admitted that there was no handicap parking. I went to each of the lots, Graydon, across the street from Graydon, near the bridge, behind the library, all closed, can't get in. There was just 3-4 spots within Graydon that was allocated for handicap parking that somehow was already filled by 6 o'clock. So when we talk about disability, which is all good things, earlier today, I don't know how we continue to miss things like, handicap disability parking at something so precious as the parade. So I'd like to hear some feedback and comments about that. There's a lot of natural disaster things happening across the country, and it's making me think, what is our disaster recovery plan when something happens? Where do we go to? Where is there a central point of contact? How are the notifications coming out? Because email's not going to work. It should be text. Should we be, in place for shooters or, and there's nothing within our village website or anything. So maybe in the future we should have a meeting or a readout on what do we all do when there's a disaster recovery? What's the continuity planning? I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, maybe at a future meeting. And then last, I did get some information about the fleet from Heather and the team about what we have. And I know Keith, we talked about you doing a readout, or Chris Calby doing a readout. But I just want to call attention in the quick analysis that I did is that there's about 45% of our fleet is allocated to SUVs, like a Tahoe, or a truck, a 150. We have 86 vehicles across our fleet, across all the departments. That's either an SUV or a truck. And I just can't in my mind visualize 86 vehicles out on the road at the same time and where we can't leverage one another's vehicles to be more optimized. 45% is a huge number. So look forward to
Denise,
Rich Kelly's
if you could finish,
presentation.
Denise, if you could
Thank you very
finish up your
much.
thoughts.
Yep. Thank you.
All good. Thank you very much.
So are we closing, as I do want to respond to Denise on at least one point?
By all means.
Yeah, Denise, on the handicap spots, that is an excellent, excellent point. I'm going to talk a little bit about during our council member comments. We actually brought this topic up at our closeout meeting on Monday after the parade was over. The good news is our numbers were at record highs, and I'm going to talk a bit about that. But I think that was one of the contributing factors as to why we ran out of handicap spots. But this is definitely something that we're mindful of. It's, I believe, the first year we've had this problem. And it's something I know we're going to address for next year. So I want to assure you that this is something that's top of mind for us for next year and something we're going to do a little better job on. And apologies that you had trouble parking, because that's, again, something that we want to make sure that it's accessible to everyone. But again, we're looking at this for next year.
Through you, Mayor, just a few comments. First of all, to Mr. Donnie, as a follow-up to the Deputy Mayor's comments about the pilot, Mr. Donnie did approach the administration by email on Monday, and Heather was kind enough to respond to him, where it's now in writing that there has been no discussion about a pilot for this project, just to piggyback off of what the Deputy Mayor indicated. So that email was sent on Monday morning. Secondly, to Ms. Lima, just to piggyback off of Councilman White's comments, handicap parking has actually been brought to our attention by 2 residents since the 4th of July. So it's also on our agenda for the internal meeting between the village and the 4th of July committee. So we'll definitely address that from both ends. With regard to emergency response, Denise, I actually just emailed you from the dais the link to the OEM Emergency Preparedness Guide that is actually published. It's a 30-page document that is published on our website. So I sent you the link to that. In addition, I'll just bring everybody's mind back to last year when we did a complete cull of contact information across departments so that we could data dump all of those contacts, emails, cell phone numbers, and the like, into our emergency response communication system. So that was overseen by Jeremy Kleiman, our OEM director. We also utilized that to put out notifications with any emergencies relative to Ridgewood Water. So we do have a reverse 911 text message and email system set up to contact as many people as we have contact information for. And lastly, with regard to the vehicle count, I would just remind folks, we run the police department 24 hours a day. We run the fire department 24 hours a day. Ridgewood Water, our sanitary sewer system. These are folks who are on the road at all hours of the night and during the day. And that is what is required in order to run an effective fleet across the village for our departments. We do look at the fleet each year to make sure that we're purging out new cars, making a determination as to whether or not we need replacement vehicles. But for all the things that we do, from fire to police to public works to water to sanitary sewer, there is a considerable amount of employees who need vehicles in order to address their day-to-day operations.
I wanted to say a couple things. So first, since Access is here, we've had some sidebar discussions how Access can be more included in the 4th of July, and we'd love to be helpful with that, Evan. This happens sometimes, and I just want to underscore some things. 1 in 4 Americans will be disabled at any point in their life, and as we have an aging population, sometimes that swings a different way with Access. So with regular handicap spots uptown, there has been a lot of work. It's a calculation. Pam found we were under handicapped in the bus station lot, and we have added them. So we take those things very, very seriously, but we on Access take it as an opportunity to partner with 4th of July. If anybody has any of those issues, we'd love to hear about it. We welcome it. Not only do we want to make sure we have the right amount, but we want to make sure they're placed appropriately. Also, because this council has heavily promoted communication, I want to make a plug that if, of course, we have very robust business interruption plans that cover all the terrible things that could happen in our village. And we plan for it, we think about it, and we have a fully dedicated Office of Emergency Management. If you're still using your landline for communication with Ridgewood Water or anything, we suggest you register a cell phone. We also, if you're not getting village alerts, we suggest you sign up. If you have an older member of your family, please help them. If you have a disabled member who is saying, I'm not really getting communication, have them sign up. We have lightning alert, we have email, texting. It's only as good as the list is populated. So if people want to be helpful in making sure that the communication is more robust, we need to connect and communicate with people. We do find, and I'm not going to throw my mother under the bus, but she's not coming out of this one, having a landline is a frequent problem with older residents and Ridgewood Water customers. So for those comments, we'd welcome any and all help in getting every member of this community digitally accessible, because that will be the platform, God forbid, we have to communicate.
And actually, Mayor, just in the last 24 hours with that storm last night, we've had over 175 people sign up for the lightning detection alerts. So, you know, sometimes it takes an actual event or something for people to pay mind to learn how to make those signups. But just in the last 24 hours, we've had that many people sign up.
And hey, I'm sorry, there's one other thing I did want to mention, just going back to the handicap and the access issue. I was going to mention this as well, but one of the things I was going to do was to thank Keith and his staff. The main way that folks get onto the field for the fireworks who are disabled is through the pedestrian bridge that goes from Great and South parking lot. Last year, there were some concerns that bridge was not really fit for purpose. My understanding is actually PSE&G who owns that bridge. Working with Keith's office, we were able to get that paved and upgraded in time for the 4th of July festivities. So we think that was definitely an improvement for some of our folks who may have trouble just physically getting there. Again, not excusing the lack of spots. We're going to fix that too, but we were mindful of that access issue. And then also, I think one of the things I was also going to take a little bit of victory lap on for the entire council was the lights that we had installed, which when it was time to exit the field at the end of the night when it's dark, we were able to turn those lights on, which I think made it a lot safer and a lot easier, especially for folks who may have just been a little compromised in how they walk. So I definitely want to just reiterate that this is definitely a point of concern for the 4th of July committee, a point of emphasis, and there's definitely something that's top of mind, and we'll do better on the handicap spots for next year. But I do think it's worth noting that getting that pedestrian bridge paved and getting those lights up there were two things that really helped some of our disabled patrons.
Anybody else?
If I could just make one comment, I want to thank my staff because they assist me with the proclamations, and they do a lot of work to get this ready for all of you. And for everyone who's honored. So I want to thank them as well.
Then we thank your staff in addition to you. And I have a couple of comments. First, Denise, to the SUVs, and to jump on what Keith said, one of the first things I know I looked at when I got on the council several years ago was we got to downsize our cars because that's the right thing to do. And I went on a tour of all of the SUVs from all the departments that Keith mentioned. They carry a lot of equipment. They carry a lot of stuff that would be difficult to fit into a smaller vehicle. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to try and wherever possible, downsize some vehicles, but yeah, they need those SUVs, because I was a firm believer that it wasn't necessary, but I was incorrect. As for access, I can't, she walked out of the room. I was about to say something nice about Siobhan. I'm going to say it anyway. Siobhan has been, and she went out to, there she is. She went out to say goodbye to her access friends, because Siobhan has been so intimately involved and familiar with the issues facing the access community, and she's the one who brought me into it. And again, I'm in a very incredibly peripheral role, but she is intricately involved in this, and I am so grateful that she is on this council to have taught me about the issues facing the access community, which, by the way, there isn't one access community. There are many, because so many of the groups who fall under the access umbrella have different issues, and I am learning about it every day. Finally, you mentioned the lights. I'm going to tell you something that brought me a lot of joy. I saw something about the 14U softball, girls softball team that we just put those lights under the, on girls softball field, and they won a championship under there. So I was pretty happy about that. I took a point of personal pride for our entire council. My daughter, by the way, was a softball player, so it's kind of a big deal. And with that, let's move on. Let's go to council reports. Evan, why don't you kick it off?
Actually, just keep going.
I think you skipped me, but I won't take it personally.
You should. I was skipping you on purpose.
And you'll be pleased because I'm going to be very brief. First, I want to echo Councilman White's statements and thanks to the 4th of July Committee, to Tara Lee, all the volunteers, public safety folks, and all who donated to the event, both the parade and the fireworks. Big shout out and thank you to everyone involved. The crowds were great and everything went off without a hitch. As I mentioned earlier, we will do a debrief meeting between the village and the 4th of July Committee. I think we're actually going to set that up for September, only because folks are away on vacation between now and then, but that date is being scheduled as we speak. Just a few announcements. Just a reminder that Graydon Pool is open each day from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. through Labor Day. As a reminder, the 2-day per week irrigation schedule is in effect. Odd numbered addresses for irrigation are Tuesday and Saturday. Even numbered addresses for irrigation are Wednesday and Sunday. No irrigation is allowed on Monday, Thursday, or Friday. Please remember, if it's raining, to turn off your sprinklers or make sure that your smart controller is minimizing your irrigation. The Ridgewood Guild is sponsoring Friday night music downtown through Labor Day. We also have music in the park downtown on Saturday evenings from 7:30 to 9:30 in Van Ness Square. The Guild is sponsoring movies in the park on Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. at Van Ness Square. The Cashaw Shell Free Summer Concert Series, Tuesday and Thursday nights in June, July, and August. Concerts begin at 8 and to end at 10. Hopefully the weather starts to cooperate a little more than we've had. The Chamber of Commerce Farmers Market is held each Sunday from 8:30 to 2 p.m. at the train station on the west side. And our upcoming Village Council meetings for the month of August, work session on August 6th and a public meeting on August 13th. Both start at 7:30 p.m. And that concludes my report.
Sorry about that, Keith. Thank you so much, and thanks for highlighting how much fun it is to be in Ridgewood in the summer. A lot of good stuff going on. Now,
Thank you, Paul. So thank you for letting me cut the line. I wanted to start with the sort of 800-pound gorilla in the room, which was what, at least my humble opinion, may have been the best Ridgewood 4th of July parade, at least in my, since I've been living here, and potentially in the 116 years that we've been doing it. As Keith mentioned, it is a completely volunteer-run operation. Tara Masterson, Lee Gilsenin, and about 24 volunteers essentially run it. Keith, I want to thank you and your entire staff. We obviously work very closely with the village employees. Things were set up perfectly. You could see the preparations done days in advance. It went off largely without a hitch due to the immense amount of planning and effort that went into just getting it right. And again, I just want to thank the village employees as well as our amazing volunteers. A couple improvements this year I was particularly happy about. As I mentioned, first, those lights, which was when the fireworks were done. We were actually able to see where you were going when you left, and just to be able to see them come on right as the fireworks were ending, I thought was just awesome, and one of the things I was looking forward to when this council funded those lights last year. As I mentioned before, we were able to get that bridge paved in the back, which made it a lot easier for folks in wheelchairs or who walk with canes to get onto the field. Again, Keith, I want to thank you and the engineering department for working with PSE&G and getting that done. I know we got that done just in the nick of time. Also really want to thank the entire committee. As some of you may have noticed, we had a much better fireworks show than we have in previous years. That's because we spent more money on it. And when I say we, I mean the volunteers. The fireworks this year were just immense, just fantastic. And I suspect we will do something similar, if not better, for next year. Now the bottom line, as I hinted earlier, I suppose there's no real way to measure how many people were on the parade route itself. I could say I had a pretty good seat for it, and definitely looked far more packed than it had been in previous years. But we can articulate how many folks were there that were paid for tickets, and we were up 25% roughly over last year. Last year was up 20% over the previous year. We literally had record numbers compared to where we've been historically. Biggest parade easily since COVID-19. Obviously the weather was great. We were originally a little concerned that on a Friday we'd have a lot of people that were going away for the weekend and we might see might see our numbers depressed. We were absolutely wrong. We saw them grow, at a nice clip. Hopefully, we will see that for next year. As I mentioned, we had our little informal wrap-up meeting this past Monday. I know we're going to meet, Keith, with your staff more formally after the summer. If there are any, if anybody has any suggestions or anything that you think we should be thinking about ahead of next year, and just a reminder, next year is going to be a huge year. It's the 250th anniversary. Please reach out to me on my council email. So we can start talking about it and thinking about it and planning about it. But again, just want to thank the village staff. I want to thank all our volunteers. I want to thank everyone who showed up. Unfortunately, none of us on the council here won the 50-50 raffle, but I do thank all of you that contributed. But really just a wonderful, wonderful event.
Evan, thanks so much for that report and for your involvement in the 4th of July parade. It's something we all take so much pride in, and we really appreciate your efforts and the efforts of the committee. It's amazing. So let's move on. Siobhan.
I don't have any official reports because my committees have not met, but I do want to remind the public that we typically do not meet in August for fields, but we will be holding a fields committee meeting because it's important in August, and that will be posted on the website. So it's just a note that it's a little different because we have more work to do this year.
Thanks, Siobhan. Frank.
None of my committees have met. I just want to say, Evan, great job on what you said, but you left out an important part. Travell won the best float again. Thank you.
Did we mention that Frank's kids go to Travell? So, and Pam.
None of my committees have met either, and I did want to let people know that the Paramus Planning Board will be having a hearing on an application for the property that is at the corner of East Ridgewood Avenue and Paramus Road, which used to be a nursery, and that is right on the Saddle River. It's in Paramus, right by the duck pond, and they intend to, the applicant is asking to subdivide the property into 2 lots and maintain one lot with, I believe, the house that's there, and the other for at least 40 housing units. So, if you are interested, that hearing at the planning board in Paramus will be on July 17th at 7 p.m. at 1 Jockish Square. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Pam. And now we're going to go to our resolutions for Ridgewood Water. Heather?
Yes. The following resolution, number 25-297, will be adopted by a consent agenda with 1 vote by the village council. It will be read by title only. Award contract, construction of East Side Reservoir PFAS treatment facility. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Hold on. Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. And we'll go to our ordinances. And so I move the first reading of ordinance 4050.
Have a second?
I second.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
Vagianos?
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4050 by title?
An ordinance to fix salaries, wages, and other compensation of and for the white-collar employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey.
I move that ordinance 4050 be adopted on first reading, that August 13, 2025 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 4051.
Second.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4051 by title?
An ordinance to fix salaries, wages, and other compensation of and for blue-collar employees of the Village of Ridgewood, County of Bergen, and State of New Jersey.
I move that ordinance 4051 be adopted on the first reading and that August 13th, 2025 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
May I have a second?
Second.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 4052.
Second.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4052 by title?
An ordinance amending Chapter 190, Land Use and Development, to create the S1 Senior Overlay Zone District.
I move that ordinance 4052 be adopted on first reading and that August 13, 2025 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes, I move the first reading of ordinance 4053.
I second.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes, so ordered. Will the clerk please read ordinance 4053 by title?
An ordinance creating a new chapter entitled Special Improvement District within the Village of Ridgewood and designating a district management corporation. Have a motion?
Second.
No, I need a motion.
Nope.
Sorry, I'm not the motion.
Oh,
Pam
I'm
is.
the motion. Right. And before I make this motion, I do want to say that the Schedule A that is attached here has the properties that the district management corporation's directors may consider as being part of the special improvement district. It does not dictate which properties will be included. But this list is going to have to be reordered by block number in order to make it researchable. You know, it just makes it easier to look for anything that you have a question about. So what you have in your packets tonight is good, it's just going to be reordered. So I move that ordinance 4053 be adopted on first reading and that August 13th, 2025 be fixed as the date for the hearing thereon.
I second the motion.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
I just want to take a brief moment to thank Pam, the CBDAC committee, and all the people who've worked for years on this, and for the general public who's watching this. This is a tool that will help us maintain vibrancy, cleanliness, improvements, and beautification within our vital and historic, charming downtown. I also want to thank Matt, because this takes a lot of lawyering to write this, so congratulations, Pam. I'm very proud of you.
It's been the work of the steering committee, which has been very dedicated and spent a lot of time on this.
And
So
I vote-
thank you to those volunteers,
And I vote
too.
yes.
okay, and then Vagianos.
And I want to echo Siobhan's comments. The steering committee was driven by Pam's tireless efforts, and I believe that this is a very, very positive thing for our village. And I want to emphasize, there will be absolutely no cost to the resident taxpayers of the village. And with that, I vote yes. And I will move on to the next ordinance, which is, I move the clerk read ordinance 4049 by title on second reading and that the public hearing thereon be opened.
Second.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes, will the clerk please read the title of ordinance 4049?
An ordinance to amend Chapter 145 of the Code of the Village of Ridgewood Fees at Section 145-6, enumeration of fees relating to code chapters.
The public hearing is now open. Seeing no one, I move the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
Yes,
I move that ordinance 4049 be adopted on the second reading and the final publication as required by law.
I second the motion.
Mortimer,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Whites,
Yes.
Winograd,
Yes.
and Vagianos.
yes,
Okay, the following resolutions, number 25-298 through 25-321, are to be adopted by a consent agenda with one vote by the village councils. They will be read by title only. Award sole source contract, upgrades for SCADA system software, water pollution control facility. Title 59 approval, restoration eastbound kiosk 1, pedestrian stairwell entrance, Ridgewood train station. Award contract, restoration eastbound kiosk 1, pedestrian stairwell entrance, Ridgewood train station. Title 59 approval, South Pleasant Avenue resurfacing with enhanced improvements for the disabled. Award contract, South Pleasant Avenue resurfacing with enhanced improvements for the disabled. Award contract under state contract, purchase, install, and repair emergency lights and other equipment, Police Department. Award contract under Bergen County contract, Village Hall roof replacement. Award contract under Bergen County contract, Groundsmaster mower, Parks Department. Award contract under Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing System, Vehicle Lease, Health Department. Chapter 159, 2025 Budget Amendment, approve insertion of item of revenue into 2025 budget, New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, Local Recreation Improvement Grant, Habernickel Park Playground. Award professional services contract, licensed site remediation professional services for remedial action outcome soil impacts, Irene Habernickel Family Park. Authorize change order number 1, professional services contract, licensed site remediation professional, on-call services at former town garage property. Authorize change order number 2, Kingsbridge Lane pedestrian bridge hand railings. Rescind and replace resolution number 25-158, award contract, renovation of Glen Pickleball Courts. Chapter 159, 2025 Budget Amendment, grant from State of New Jersey Department of Health, strengthening local public health capacity program, funding for communicable disease expenses and protection of public health and safety impacts and report requirements. Award contract under Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing System, 88 Playground, Habernickel Park. Authorize refund of tax overpayment, Block 2313.02, Lot 3. Authorize refund and cancellation of real estate property taxes, Block 4305, Lot 13. Place local referendum question on general election ballot, increase Ridgewood's open space tax levy. Endorse fourth round housing element and fair share plan adopted by Ridgewood Planning Board. Renew site access agreement, North Walnut Street parking lot, sampling of monitoring wells. Accept and adopt special improvement district feasibility study. Appoint student intern liaison to Green Ridgewood, and nominate Isabella Altano for New Jersey Historical Commission Award of Recognition. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I second it with Heather. Great job saying all that.
Mortimer?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Whites?
Yes.
Winograd?
Yes.
And Vagianos?
Yes. Let's go back to public comment.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Boyd A. Loving, Ridgewood resident. Just a question or a comment about 25303. I see that the repair of these lights is taking place in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and I'm just wondering how often we are going to have to drive a vehicle down there, or is the dealership coming up here to repair the equipment? I believe I bumped into somebody one time who said they had just gotten back from Cherry Hill, so I do believe that at least on one occasion we have taken a car down there. It seems a long way to drive to save a few bucks on a state contract, but it is what it is. I've got a pet peeve, and I know the manager's heard me before about this, but I will say it again. All sprinkler systems are supposed to be equipped with rain sensors. So you shouldn't have to turn your system off if you've got a functioning rain system. If it rains a quarter of an inch, it should turn off automatically. And sorry to hear that there wasn't enough handicap parking. I hope that when the committee meets in September, they will consider the request that I made the last time, that there be a recommendation or a some sort of area where there is no noise, so that the people who are sensory sensitive can have an area where they can watch the parade without worrying about noise and lights. I know the mayor indicated that's going to be a little bit difficult because of crowds gathering, and the same people are also subject to being somewhat concerned about crowds, but anything we can do to reduce the amount of noise and lights so the people can participate in the event would be very nice. I also understand that there are some municipalities that have gotten rid of fireworks and replaced it with drone shows. The noise from the fireworks, as those of you who are dog owners know, very much bothers the dogs. It would be nice to try something different. I know in Ridgewood we very much like tradition and don't like change at all, but if perhaps somebody can take a look at a municipality that has done that has replaced the fireworks and put in a drone show, that would be something that perhaps could be considered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Boyd. Anyone else?
Good evening, Ann Loving, Ridgewood resident. I just wanted to make a comment about, we learned it last week, and I guess it's been introduced this week, that Ridgewood cut the fourth round affordable housing obligation from, I think, 427 to 4. I know this is a win financially. I know that the planner did everything that she was hired to do. It makes me kind of sad. It feels kind of elitist. It feels kind of like we're trying to keep the others out. We don't want as many. We're trying to do the most we can to keep out affordable housing, AKA poor people. And it's just sad. It's just sad to me that that's happening. I know that a lot of towns are doing it. We're not the only one. I think Teaneck went down from 400 something to like 10 or 11, and we're not alone in this, but just globally speaking, it makes me sad that there's such a concerted effort to keep affordable housing out of this beautiful town and any town. It's, you know, all of us who can afford to live here, not everybody can, and wouldn't it be swell if we could embrace affordable housing instead of fighting against it? Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Cynthia O'Keefe, Ridgewood resident. So there was an article in yesterday's New York Times by Rebecca Tauber, and it was entitled "Extreme Heat is Disrupting Athletic Events Worldwide." The risk of competing and even spectating in extreme heat is serious. The related illnesses can escalate quickly from cramps to heat stroke, which can be fatal. It was only 86 degrees tonight. I saw a whole bunch of games over at Vets, so I know, you know, you've implemented this system to let coaches know and let parents know, but we do see people playing on the fields, even the turf fields. So, you know, I don't know if there'll be a further review of the policies, the fields policy. I'd also like to know, I believe there's a member, Carolyn Holt, who's a member at large. I don't know. I know she was handling a feasibility study meeting that she was putting together, but I would assume she would also be talking to parents. I don't know if that's part of her role. Maybe someone can clarify that. Like, what really is her role as a member at large for the community, for parents? Because on social media, there were many people, many parents concerned about their children on the hot turf fields, specifically. I know many of you have said, except for Pam, that you believe that turf is safe. You haven't said anything about what its effect on the environment is, just that it's safe, I guess, for kids to breathe in. You know, we did talk about the CDC saying that older turf should be tested. Is that happening? Because lead could be inhaled. Those are in the reports that Frank you know, gave us the information about. You rattled off that list of 13 websites. So thank you for that, Frank. And also, when you ran, you did say that you wanted Ridgewood to be looked at as a beacon of environmental soundness. How is that going 6 months in, or almost 7 months in? You know, I'd like to know if Ridgewood really does intend to be Green Ridgewood when you're voting on artificial turf. And last week I did say it was grossly negligent to put artificial turf with PFAS next to private wells that you know are on the property perimeter at Shedler. So while we talk about all these great things that you're doing and patting you on the back, you know, and I agree, you volunteer, that's really wonderful, but I don't want you making decisions that affect the health and well-being of me and my neighbors, and something that could affect us. I'm now a senior officially, so, you know, I just, you know, I don't appreciate it when you say we just disagree, because it is personal to all of us that live there. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Anybody else? No? We'll go to our public access. Denise, you're up.
Hi, everybody. Denise Lima, Ridgewood resident. Just to follow up on the 4th of July, the covered bridge was a good ad, but if you can't park, having the paved covered bridge doesn't mean anything. We're supposed to be access forward, always, looking out. I don't know how that was missed, but it sounds like everybody's going to regroup, so I appreciate that. A few years ago, there was no handicap parking at the farmer's market. I think there's 2 spots that are there, but while you're looking at it, maybe you can evaluate that. I just wanted to circle back about the fleet. So of the 102 vehicles, I already stripped out all the emergency vehicles. I already stripped out all the heavy lifting trucks that need to carry everything. The 102 vehicles, approximately $5 million worth of fleet, is purely SUVs and light trucks like 150s. It doesn't include the water department. They have 26 trucks or SUVs. I don't know that they need 26. I don't know where they store them. I hope nobody's bringing 102 vehicles home, but I ask you to look at that a little bit further. And the OEM disaster recovery 30-page document is excellent. Every Ridgewood resident should be printing that out, filling it out for themselves. It's got an unbelievable amount of data, but it's all about preparedness and what people should do to prepare. The question that I'm bringing to the table is, once there is a disaster, and in the OEM where it says public officials will communicate, ... whatever all those things are, what are all those things? What are the shelters? What are the evacuations? I don't know that we've ever kind of talked about that. And while I've signed up for the text, Keith, and emails and different cell phones to make sure we get it, I have never been alerted that there was a bear in the area. I was never alerted that there were lightning and thunderstorms. I can hear the alarms from the fields. That's how I get alerted versus the text. I rarely get a text. I get it from Glen Rock, Midland Park, Allendale, because I've signed up for all of them. They text constantly with things that are happening. I rarely get something from Ridgewood. So again, I would just ask that we look at that, test it maybe, what are the steps in the communication? So that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Saurabh, you're up.
Good evening again. Saurabh Dani, Ridgewood resident. Thank you for your service. Thank you for volunteering. I have 2 points. One, I missed the part where you were discussing about, or you mentioned about the handicap parking availability on July 4th. I missed whether it was in the morning or evening. So if this was in the evening, then it may be an issue of enforcement, not availability. Because I was at that gate collecting the tickets and cash, and I did not see a lot of handicapped people or people on wheelchair or walking with the assistance getting in from that gate. We had 1 wheelchair person, but the parking filled up quickly. So it may be an enforcement. And so if council is stepping in for this, maybe the council can consider sponsoring for the enforcement part by finding grants or good gesture from the council, because 4th of July committee has to pay for everything, all the police presence and everything. So if 4th of July committee has to do that, then it will be an added cost on them. So maybe council can work something out. Evan, this is a call out for you when you meet with Tara and Lee next week or in August. Maybe, and if it was in the morning, then my comment is not valid anymore. But evening, I think it's more enforcement than availability because others were parking there. And for the pilot comment, I think I did mention that I sent an email and Ms. Mailander responded to my email and what she mentioned in that email. No. I think I did not mention Monday morning, so maybe that's what the village manager had to point out, but or my accent was not very clear again. But I just wanted to clarify that I did mention and I did give her the credit of responding quickly. As always, she responds. Thank you.
Thank you, Saurabh. And with that, I'm going to close public comment, turn it over to the council for any responses.
I just wanted to comment on Denise's. Denise, I'll message you tomorrow to sign up on the Lightning Alert, because I looked when you said you didn't receive any recently, and just yesterday I received 6. So I'll send you the link on how you can sign up. Maybe there's something changed.
And Boyd, on your suggestion around sensory sensitive folks and doing something different for the parade, it's on the agenda. I actually talked a little bit with some of our volunteers about it at Monday's meeting. It obviously is complicated. We want to be thoughtful and smart, and we're looking at it, so I can't guarantee you how we're going to come out on it, but it's definitely something that we're discussing. There's at least one solution that I feel pretty good that we're going to be able, or at least one improvement that'll help in this area that I think we will be able to implement for next year, and I don't want to say it because it's still in the process, but again, it is something we're giving a lot of thought to, and I appreciate you raising it.
So I also wanted to add on the 4th of July and Access. Clearly, the Access Committee would like to be involved. I know there had been outreach to them, and I want to remind the community that within the Access community, there is not one brush that serves them, paints the picture for them all. So when we're talking about neurodivergency, there are kids within the Access community who don't have the same issue. And we went back, we're going to form a parade committee. And just to give you an example, when we went back to the general at-large Access community, I highlighted this because we're so mindful of the sensory issue, because we have a very mobile neurodivergent crew within the Access group. There were members of the Access community who felt like they want their own float. So there's not just one solution for Access with respect to the parade. There were members of the committee who felt that maybe because it's so important, there's kids who don't have neurodivergence or sensory issues, who have other issues or opportunities or disabilities could be in it. So Evan, we can touch more on that, but the best ideas from that committee we're going to put together, whether it's early walking hours or however you want to do it, we're available for it. But there is not one solution that will service the full Access committee. I also want to say with the e-notice, I know that my Lightning Alert goes off. Maybe we could include it in the Friday reminder of how to sign up. I know it did just go out. If anybody's ever signed up for an activity, I just got a reminder from the Parks Department. Everybody should sign up for that. And 2 things were said. We haven't just implemented heat regulation guidelines. They've been in full effect. We've just recently published them, again, because there's been public inquiry. We've had them. We've been abided by them. And Carolyn Holt is a member of Fields. She is the member at large to represent the community's interest related to Fields from the school population. So she's a mother of 3. She comes from very many different areas, and that member at large before Carolyn was a longstanding member named Jeff Gluck. So that is what they're there. Everybody else represents an interest. Our JFA is a member, so they vote in football's interest, and she's there to tie in the missing interest. And we're very grateful for her, and she is the member at large on the Fields Committee. So hopefully that helps.
I am curious to know, with climate change heating our fields up more and more, whether we will actually get as much additional playtime out of artificial turf as the manufacturers tell us we will. These very hot days, I wonder if the coaches are actually calling the games and not having kids play, and is that statistic tracked?
We are.
They are. They're
Okay.
definitely
The Parks and
calling.
Recreation Department is on this every single day. We have discussions about this between my office, in light of the recent heat waves, with Parks and Recreation every day. The regulations from NJSIAA were re-administered to every sports organization that has a permit to use our fields, and we mirror, and they mirror us, the Board of Education, so we're in concert with one another on those field issues.
And I guess the master library will tell us.
We know exactly who's
whether-
scheduled on the
Okay,
field.
great.
We would also, just, Pam, to debate the academic, just purely without drawing on the numbers, keep in mind the utilization that comes with rain. Summer's so many months long. We lost 50% of girls' flag football this spring. So, because of the rain and the conditions of the field. So without looking at it, without having actual figures, rain causes probably more cancellations than at heat. And additionally, we have to factor in that turf, when we do this, can be plowed. So during the winter, where grass isn't accessible during the seasons, that's where it gets into the utilization.
And I just want to say that the decisions with regard to the use of the fields during heat is very situational. It's very different than a rainstorm, where you can go out and say, the field is playable, or the field is not. You're talking about air temperatures, you're talking about humidity, you're talking about conditions, you're talking about time of day. So certainly when the sun goes down, the fields become more playable than if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We are very conscious about our summer camp program utilizing Maple Field. I went out there on Monday. It was 83 degrees. It was at lunchtime. I took a walk out to Maple. The kids were out there. I stood there for about 15 minutes. I watched the counselors on 15-minute intervals make sure that these kids were taking water. There are strict protocols that Nancy and her team over at REC are following. In the evenings, if there's excessive heat, we will shut down for any permitted activities. And what I mean by that is if a baseball group or a lacrosse group is scheduled to use the field and we think that the heat is too excessive based on the rules promulgated by NJSIAA, we will cancel that event. But I want to be clear, we also have Green Acres obligations. So if the field's not being used and 4 or 5 kids want to go play a game of touch football, we don't have the ability to tell them to leave the field. Mm-hmm. That's their own free will. They get to make that decision. It's like a person walking their dog in a thunderstorm. Okay? The horn could be going off out back. It doesn't mean we kick the person who's walking their dog off the track. So we can cancel and close the field for organized events, but we also have to take into account and balance that with, we are a Green Acres regulated municipality. We accepted Green Acres money years ago for the development of parks and fields in this town, and we have to follow their rules. And we can't tell somebody, you can't go on the field to throw a football around. If there's a flood event, that's a different situation because the field's not usable at that time. But people get to make their own decisions as far as free play.
And if I recall, the rules mention a device to measure the wet bulb temperature. Are the coaches using those devices?
The Parks and Rec measures it, and we control the field. So all the coaches are mindful, but Nancy would shut the field because we own it. And same thing at the high school.
David Wild in the Recreation Department is on this every day. He's monitoring this every day to make sure that the fields are being used when it's appropriate and not being used when there's a risk.
Well, that's good to hear. The other thing I wanted to say, Anne, with regard to our affordable housing planning and programming, we take it very seriously. And that's why we've hired an expert planner who's devoted her career and believes deeply in affordable housing, that we are not engaging in this program for the purpose of keeping people of any particular economic stratus out of our village. On the contrary, a variety of different people is good for all of us here in the village, and there is no exclusionary intention here at all.
And just to follow up on that, I've sat in all of these meetings with Beth and the mayor and the deputy mayor who sit on the ordinance working group and have gone through all of these issues. I don't believe that there's any intention amongst this administration to exclude future affordable housing in Ridgewood. Now, there's no doubt that statewide this position has been politicized and weaponized, and that rhetoric is certainly coming from other communities in New Jersey. I don't believe that has ever been stated publicly or privately because I don't think it's accurate. I think what we've looked at and what Beth has done yeoman's work in analyzing on behalf of the village is what our realistic development potential is. This is a very built-out community. We spent a lot of time in my conference room, hours upon hours since February, talking about where there could be realistic development to provide this affordable housing. And those identified locations are included in this plan that was submitted to DCA back in June and was endorsed tonight by this council after review from the planning board. I don't think there's any intention to keep affordable housing out of Ridgewood. I think our goal all along was to make sure that the number was realistic based on what areas of the village can be developed now and in the future.
Excuse me, and this is one of the areas that you and I agree on completely. We want diversity in our community. The issue, there are many issues, as I've come to learn, in this very complicated scheme, but the single driving force is that, as Keith said, this is a fully built-out community. If you want to build a house, you have to knock one down. All the lots are taken. We have implemented a bunch of what's called overlay zones, which means that, for example, the former Valley Hospital, if that were to leave, there is an overlay zone there stating how many units can be put there, how many affordable units can be put there. All of that is done. But if Valley doesn't leave and they continue to use that facility, which they have indicated is absolutely the case, and I use that just by way of example, it's not available to us. There's no development opportunity. So that's really the driving force in all of it. And in other places that have more open space, we've talked about open space in the shadow of Shedler. There just isn't any open space here in town. And that's really what's driving most of this.
And if I may, Mayor, I think everybody's got to understand there is so much oversight with regard to our housing plan, our fair share housing plan. Not only is it reviewed by the court, there is also an advocate that is set up on a statewide basis, the Fair Share Housing Center, that reviews our plan. They recognize the properties that could be involved in development in this town, and they also recognize the planning that is going on through our fair share plan to make sure that we provide, and the quote is, a realistic opportunity for development of affordable housing. So it's not as if by bringing it down to 4 we're getting away with anything. It's a matter of a realistic need given all the development that we've provided and all the development that is planned in our 4th round fair share housing plan. Not only that, is that you've always got developers breathing down your neck as well. So it's the oversight, the scrutiny that's given to it is something that has mired in the courts. The legislature hasn't been able to handle it, which is why the court had to take it on in the 3rd round and now also in the 4th round. So this is a very, very complex process which provides a significant oversight to make sure there is a realistic opportunity for development of affordable housing.
Yeah, and to stress what Matt said, there's so much oversight on this. Again, the courts, the advocate, but maybe one that has the most impetus is developers, the builder's remedy. Developers, if they think that we are trying to keep them out, they can sue us. There is an avenue for that. So there are lots of avenues for this. If we do not have a legitimate plan, and by legitimate, I mean one that is completely within the confines of the regulatory structure for this, it won't stand up to all the scrutiny that it gets.
Mayor, just a few rapid fire. To Mr. Loving on the Cherry Hill dealership that deals with our police vehicles. We do drive them there. To be honest with you, I'm with you on that. It drives me absolutely bananas. But they have the state contract. I've actually advocated through the League of Municipalities in the past that the state contract, that someone be awarded in the south and someone be awarded in the north to avoid that type of thing. But the trouble with that is if we don't take it down to the Cherry Hill dealership, we then have to go out to bid for that service, and it's almost guaranteed that it's going to be more than the state awarded the contract for. So that is a frustration. But to answer your question, we would be bringing the vehicles down there to be serviced. With regard to Denise, I just want to say that we do file, and we did just last year, an Office of Emergency Management plan with the county that goes up to the state police. We don't publish the context of all of that plan to the public, one for security reasons, but also because every emergency is situational. So while we may say we're going to open up a shelter at the high school, and I'm using a hypothetical here, you know, if the high school is not accessible during the emergency because of the situation, then we need to announce what that alternate location is going to be. So OEM is very thoughtful and very methodical about what information they release and how they release it. But I cannot stress enough, for those who have not utilized that mailer that we sent out last year, and I can certainly ask Carol to republish that in the e-news and on social media. If you are not signed up for our text alerts, our email alerts, and our reverse 911 system, please sign up, because that is going to be the quickest way for us to put out information in the event of an emergency. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Anybody else? We will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone
Aye.
opposed? Thank you.
Bonnie, thank you. Have a good night.